Hello and welcome to episode 10 of the Tea in Tokyo podcast. That's right, we're finally up to double digits.
Wow.
How exciting. My name is Sonia.
And I'm Ellie.
And what did we do this week?
We visited Kawagoe, and then we discuss how coronavirus has had a real effect on our work lives.
Yeah, that and slightly more coming up right now. Okay, so last week we went to Kawagoe at the end of the week. Kawagoe is like 2 hours from Tokyo, and you have to take like 3 trains to get there. It's not like a bullet train thing, it's just the normal trains.
Yeah, so it's in the Saitama prefecture, I believe. So it's like fully, I think it's the second prefecture we've been to, so nice and outside.
Yeah, true actually. Yeah, that's kind of exciting. So we've been to 2 now. So originally, Ellie's, someone at her work said that you should go there for strawberry picking. But then we decided not to do it because it didn't really seem worth it.
Yeah, it was like 2,200 yen for 30 minutes. And that's just like ridiculously overpriced. We're like living on 1 week's pay right now because in the month of January we only worked for 1 week. So we were like, you know what, we don't want to spend between us 4,400 yen to get like a handful of strawberries.
Yeah, no, that wasn't worth it.
But yeah, the reason we went to it was because one of our friends who's done a lot of like showing us around, she hadn't been there before. So it was the first place we've been to with her that she hadn't actually been to yet.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we felt kind of bad that we kept going to places that she had already been to before. And it's like a really small little town where there probably isn't that much, there isn't that much happening, but there is a lot of like historical places that you can visit.
Yeah, like there's an area called like Old Road in Kawagoe, and it's like really old style buildings, which is pretty cool.
What I kept thinking about when we were there is I kept thinking of like footage from the 2011 tsunami because every town looked like a place from like those videos where
I'm pretty sure it's too far inland to have been affected by that, right?
Yeah, it is. But it just looked like that kind of town. You know that video where like there's an old lady and an old man? They're like between blocks and they're running and then there's the water.
I did not see that one.
Oh, you see the water behind them, and then the camera kind of cuts at that moment, but you know that the water just engulfed them and they died.
Oh god, I don't know that one, Sonia. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, but that's what that town reminded me of for some reason. But yeah, it was cool. There were like these old buildings everywhere. Like you could tell that they were made a long time ago. They've just been like as it is for like centuries.
And like you could catch buses to different places, but we decided to walk everywhere because it wasn't that far. Like, it's a good way to sort of, like, catch up with people.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It's a good place to just walk around and chat and have a good time like that. The first thing that we saw there was the Toki no Kani, which is the bell tower. So the bell tower is, like, pretty famous there because before like, the other, like, modern buildings were built in the town, that was, like, the most prominent, like, structure in the entire town. It was kind of like the center of the town. So that's like a well-known kind of place to visit. Although now, like, there's so many other things that are built around it that you sort of don't even realize that it's something that's important.
Like, I wouldn't go there just to see that, but it was on the way to the other stuff anyway. So
yeah,
it was all good.
Yeah, it's definitely not that special, but for like historically, I guess it's special for that reason.
Yeah.
It's only like in the sign it said it was 17.5 meters tall, which 17.5 meters, that's not that tall at all. But when you think about the fact that they built it so long ago, I guess that's kind of impressive actually, building something that tall. And you can imagine that when it's that tall, it would back in the day, it would have been the only thing even remotely that close to that height.
Yeah.
So it would have stood out like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Like, interesting to see. Like, worthwhile, like, for on the way to other places.
Yeah. And right after that, like, on the same street was a really aesthetic Starbucks.
Yeah, so apparently it's not just us thinking it's aesthetic, because it's designed in that same, like, old school building design.
Yeah. It looked like the walls were made out of, like, cool clay.
Yeah. The inside was really cool as well. Just, like, all-round aesthetic design, right? Like...
Yeah, it was nice. We didn't actually have anything to drink there, though. And then the main things that we were sort of there for were to see these shrines. There were 2 shrines, and then there was, like a flea market there. That was
and you're
kind of
forgetting
cool
about before those, we continued walking and we went to Candy Alley.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Candy Alley was another thing that place is known for.
So back in, like, I believe it was, like, the Edo period, something about there being a shortage of candy. And so that street, like, all of a sudden got really popular for, like, making candy or sending it to Tokyo.
Yeah, yeah.
It's basically, like, a square that you can walk down, and there's heaps of candy stores.
Yeah, it's also known as Kashiya Yokocho. That's the proper name for Candy Alley. But yeah, I think most people just know it as Candy Alley. I think it was very underwhelming when we went.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe heaps of them were closed because of, like, the virus. I'm not sure.
I don't know if it was closed. I feel like they all seemed open to me, but there just wasn't a whole lot happening. And when we looked at photos afterwards, they had a lot more on sale. They had designed it a lot better, and it looked a lot... like, there was a lot more to do there.
I think a part of that is because when you hear the name Candy Alley, you kind of picture bright colours and heaps of, like, I don't know, like, super cool looking sweets.
Yeah.
So, Japanese sweets aren't as artificial as Western style sweets. And so...
Yeah, they don't have, like, artificial colours and stuff.
Yeah, so it seemed underwhelming. But it was still cool. Like, we bought some lollies just because we were there.
No, the thing is, if you have a look at photos, you'll notice that it's a lot more colourful as well. I think it's because we went on a Friday.
Yeah, true.
So it might be better on the weekend. And also, yeah, you're right. Maybe coronavirus does have something to do with it too. Maybe it's just less busy in general, so there's no point.
Because it was very quiet in Kawagoe.
Yeah, it was quiet, yeah.
And I bought one traditional sweet, which was like a sweet potato and red bean paste style.
That was good.
It was really good. We were, like, pretty hungry, so that was just the perfect thing to, like, tide you over until we had a proper meal.
Yeah, we were expecting to buy, like, quite a bit of lollies from there, but like, there just wasn't really anything to buy. I'm
so aware of every time we say like right now.
Are we saying it a lot?
I say it so much, and you just said it like 5. I just said it again. God damn it, Mum, you really...
From now on until the end of this podcast, we're not going to say like.
That's what I thought I was going to do this one, but I've already noticed myself saying it so much.
Yeah, but now we definitely won't.
Okay, I'm going to be really careful with my words.
Okay, well, now... so now we went to the shrines straight after that. So, yeah, the Candy Alley was a little bit underwhelming. So we made our way to the shrine. And the first shrine that we went to was actually the coolest one we saw. It's called Kawagoe Eikaiwa Shrine. Yeah,
so the problem with this one is that where it's marked on the maps is wrong. Right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So we walked all the way out to this area, and then it was in the middle of nowhere. Like, there was a cup. I said like again.
There was like, it was like an empty, like a farm where nothing was growing yet.
Yeah. So there was a car park, and we were really confused because we thought maybe it had been like bowled down or something, because it was an empty lot. And then we looked up reviews on the shrine, and heaps of people were saying like this is not where it is. So we ended up like finding the real location. You had to walk for 5-10 minutes. So we walked for like, oh my god, we're saying like so much.
Don't worry about it, God.
My mum's messed me up because my mum keeps on messaging me. So we walked for about 5-10 minutes and found the back entrance to the shrine. So the first thing we saw was this 600-year-old holy tree.
Yeah, although we didn't know it was 600 years old
at the time. We didn't know that. It's a massive tree though, and
although someone cut the top of it off. Like, there were 2 trees, and one of them was, like, cut off.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Maybe it fell over or something in a storm.
Maybe.
But apparently if you walk around it in a figure 8, you'll be, like, blessed. But we didn't do that. We just walked around it. And we continued around, like, the pathway from there. And they have, like, the main part of the shrine out front. It was semi-busy. Nowhere near as busy as other shrines we've been to.
But which is good, actually, anyway. Like... But there was like a really aesthetic, great place for Instagram photos.
It was a walkway, and it was so you can buy these little like wooden planks at Japanese shrines and tie them up where you write on them your wish for the year.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it was a walkway that had arches all along it, and so many of those were tied up.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So you tie them up, and then when you walk through it, you can take like really, really good photos there.
Yeah.
And before that, there's this thing that you did, which I didn't do.
Yeah.
It's the same, like, so it's another place to get fortunes. Like, shrines, that's the thing that you do at shrines, just get more and more fortunes.
But this one was, like, even cooler than the other ones because you paid 300 yen. Normally it's 100 yen for like a basic one, but this one was worth it because then you go like fishing and it's in like a barrel thing and it's...
Yeah, you like fish for them.
Yeah,
like,
it's
no
shaped
water
like
there,
a fish.
There's
yeah,
no water in there, there's just the fish.
It's shaped like a fish and your little fishing rod has like a hook and you have to hook it around a string, so it's harder than it looks.
Yeah. And last time you got like a really bad
I got the worst luck.
What did you get this time?
I got best luck.
Oh, you got best luck. Okay, well that's lucky.
So I counteracted my worst luck.
Yeah.
The other thing with the shrine is it houses five deities, 2 of whom are married, so it's known as like a matchmaking shrine, which we didn't know at the time, but that's why you go if you want good luck and love.
Right.
So after we went fishing for a thing, which me and the other 2 girls we were with both went fishing and got cute pink little good luck things.
Yeah.
We walked through that little walkway with it had like the perfect amount of light was streaming through for the ultimate Instagram photos.
Yeah, it looked really nice. That made me realize more than anything how crap our phones are.
Yeah.
Like we both have an iPhone 6 and the camera is terrible. In low light, like it can't take anything. Our friend had like a Samsung A10 or something, and man, like it was honestly night and day. And I mean that almost literally because you couldn't see anything in our photos, and on her one, like you could see every little detail. It looked fantastic. I was like, okay,
here
we
we are
definitely need new phones.
Talking up these photos, and what happened was all of us took all our photos on her phone because it was so good quality. And it was a new phone, and so she hadn't put the SIM card in yet. And when she got home and put the SIM card in, it reset, and she lost all the photos from the day. So you can take our word for it when we say...
Although I have one photo that I took on my camera.
Oh, good.
But it's super dark, and I mean, I'll try to lighten it up on Photoshop and stuff, but I don't know how much detail I can get back. That's the thing that really annoys me, is the fact that, like, new phones, the camera quality is better than, like, if you have a DSLR. Because... Like, technically, the aperture on a phone is bigger than the aperture on my crappy lens, because I've got, like, a kit lens. So, like, that's so funny that the lens is, like, huge, and yet the amount of light that it lets in is actually less than our cameras. Or maybe that's not how it works. Maybe it's just that the processor on a camera is a lot better or something. I don't know. But whatever it is...
Regardless, her phone took great photos. We took so many. We were, like, all excited. We were all going to post them on Instagram, and then we lost them all.
Yeah.
So... I mean, we still enjoyed the moment, right? It was just a bit sad that we lost all the sort of, like, evidence of the memory.
Yeah, but I do want to take, like, more photos of the stuff that we've been doing. So, yeah, all sad for that.
Because we have, like, a Polaroid printer that we like to print out some photos for, like, each of our memories so that we have it, like, in physical format. But yeah, so that was that shrine. It was totally worthwhile. My favourite one.
Well, hold on. Just about the photo things. Yeah, we've never really taken many photos from like the stuff that we've done, really. And I've got to the point where I kind of want to have more. I want to have something that you can actually look at over the years.
So both of us had a New Year's resolution this year to almost like have less shame when taking photos. You know?
Yeah, have less shame. Yeah.
I feel like you're inclined to feel as though you're being way too touristy when you're stopping and getting lots of photos. But when you just forget about other people judging you, you can enjoy yourself a lot more and actually get some...
And it's been so much easier in Japan. I feel like when I was in New Zealand, I always felt like someone that I knew was like right around the corner, just waiting to like judge what I was doing.
To see you doing some dumb pose and then...
yeah, pretty much.
But so...
And one other thing that I actually found really interesting in that round, which you guys did not find interesting at all, was that water. Like, there's like a little like...
you were really impressed.
What do you even call that? Like
a stream?
Yeah, but it was so tiny. I don't even know if you can call it a stream. It was like a little water feature, I guess.
Yeah.
And had like water flowing in there. The thing though that made it interesting was
it wasn't that
was three things. Number one, it had this weird like fungi at the bottom.
It was like some form of Didimo or something.
Yeah, and it looked like really cool and stuff. Number two, the water was flowing, but you couldn't actually see that it was flowing. Like the light was working in a weird way where it looked perfectly still, even though it
did look very still.
That was cool. And then number three, which was really cool, was the fact that you could clearly see that part of the water feature was higher up than the other part. Like the pebbles were higher up than another part. But the water didn't flow down. It stayed at the same height, almost. You know, and it just like tricked your brain because you think there'd be like the water would all of a sudden flow really fast at that point. and it'd be like a little rapids kind of thing.
Because there was like a little waterfall, so you knew it was moving water. Even one of our friends was tricked by it. She was impressed with it as well because she put her foot in it because she thought there was like glass on top of it or something. Yeah. And that confirmed that it was actually real
that was
water.
Amazing. I took like photos of it, but there was nothing like you can't show that on like a photo. You kind of have to be there to see how amazing it is. Or maybe you just have to be in my brain to see how amazing it is.
I could see it was kind of cool, but it wasn't quite like impressive as I think you thought it was.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so then...
Yeah.
And then we went to another shrine, or actually the next one is a temple, not a shrine. It's the Kitane Temple. Kitane?
Let me see the spelling.
Kitane.
That one might be Kitane. I thought you were just being super New Zealand.
Kitane Temple, which is the biggest and like the main temple in Kawagoe. But to be honest, wasn't as impressive as the last one.
The other one just had way more... sort of like small little nooks and crannies that were really cool looking.
Yeah.
Whereas this one was just
it was
a big
grand.
temple.
Yeah, it was big, it was grand, but yeah, I feel like it was missing like the nice details. And also I think it would look a lot better in summer because there are like trees there and a little bit of like a field, like a garden area. But right now in winter, like everything is just dead.
It was also super quiet. No one there.
Really,
there was
really
a older Japanese man outside who spoke English, and when we were going in, he spoke to us for a bit, and he was like, make sure you get your face masks because you want to be careful. Like, people are obviously taking it very seriously, which we'll talk about more later.
Yeah. So, I think definitely it was because of coronavirus that there was no one there.
Yeah. I'd say there was like 10 people there. Like.
Yeah, for sure. This temple, by the way, just looked it up, it was made in 820.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, these are really old temples.
Yeah, the first
like,
one, I don't think we mentioned, it's 1,500 years old.
Yeah,
so
right.
That one is like impressive age.
Yeah, I was telling like one of my students, part of the reason why I think New Zealanders or like people from Australia or like countries like that like to come to places like Japan is that we have like a really young history.
Okay, I don't think I'd agree that Australia has a young history because Aboriginal people are like the oldest.
I'm talking about white people, obviously.
Okay, good. Just clarifying. Because I completely disagree if you say Australia is young.
Yeah, but also like, okay, let's be honest here. Yes, Aboriginals have a very old history, but there isn't a whole lot to look at.
I suppose there's not the same. Like there's not big temples that have been man-made. Like there's not as much man-made construction.
In fact, I don't know a whole lot about. I don't know as much about Aboriginals as I probably should, but do they have any buildings at all that are historical?
I don't think know.
They do. I've never heard of an Aboriginal building.
Let's be real. Until very recently, they were still considered a part of the flora and fauna in Australia. So if they did, it probably got destroyed.
Yeah, true.
Right?
That's fair enough. But yeah, okay, fine. Screw Australia, but like Kiwis. And I know you're going to say, well, Māori have been there for 1,000. But
it's the same thing. There's not as much. Well, I mean, maybe the right word is it's almost like the level of like technological achievement wasn't as great. So there's like these really impressive buildings compared to the way that it was in New Zealand historically.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's like the only way you can appreciate the history in New Zealand is if you're like an archaeologist looking at like the very fine details of our history. Whereas in places like Japan and other places in the world like Europe, it's right in your face because it's like a giant temple or a giant church that was built in 500 like AD or something.
And they'll often have really intricate like designs and
exactly
on them.
Yeah. But yeah, so the historical aspect of it was definitely cool. And there was also one other thing where it was like 500 monuments or 500 statues or something.
Yeah, that you could apparently pay to view, but there was a really small area and we were like, they can't fit 500 statues back here.
I wasn't buying it. And we didn't even know how much it was, to be honest. We just saw that you had to pay and we were like, fuck it, I can't be bothered. It's probably not worth it. So we left. Yeah, well, that's kind of it for Kawagoe, yeah. So then that night, actually, so the second part of this podcast, I guess, is the fact that night we got a message from our work saying that it had been cancelled for 2 weeks because of coronavirus. So before that, we kind of weren't taking the whole coronavirus thing that seriously. And
I'm still not taking it that seriously.
Yeah, we're not, to be honest. But I definitely didn't expect our work to be cancelled for 2 weeks. And yet here we are. Today is our first day of our holiday.
Yeah, so you guys might have seen, I don't know if you follow Japanese news that much, the Japanese government requested schools to close for 2 weeks, but we did not think our school would get affected. Literally the day before, I think it was, my mum sent me the article on Facebook and was, telling us to watch out. And I said, don't be dumb, we're not going to close. Because we're in Eikaiwa, we're after school hours, it's like one-on-one classes, so it's not the same. I didn't think it was constrained by the same rules as a normal school.
Yeah, and I mean, I've spoken to a lot of my students, and their offices have closed. Or not really closed, but they just have to work from home.
I've taught a lot of my students telecommute the last
Well, a lot of my students have been using telecommute, but then I was like, who the fuck says telecommute?
I'm teaching them.
Yeah, honestly. You're teaching them a word that nobody uses. They're like, oh, I'm going to telecommute. Is that the right word? I'm like, I guess so, but who the hell?
I also teach them that more naturally, I'd say work from home.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, fuck that. Just say
but
work from home.
But telecommute is the official word for it.
Yeah. God.
Anyways.
Yeah, you really are. You're spreading this whole telecommute thing.
Yeah, because you have to teach them more formal business language when you've got a business student.
True. Yeah, but when they were saying that their ones were closing, I was like, won't close, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I just said our goddamn company name again. But yeah, I said it won't close.
Beep won't close.
But it did, so there you go.
Yeah, we got this message and we were worried for a second because we are contractors, so we get paid per class you teach. We don't have a reliable salary. It's good because we can take holidays when we want, we can work as many hours as we want. So we thought, crap, we're about to lose 2 weeks of pay. This is going to suck. But for the first time as far as everyone I've spoken to, the first time as they've been at including people who have been there for years and years, they're paying us for the 2 weeks off.
Yeah, that's right. Apparently that's never happened before, so that's really cool. We're actually getting paid. And for me, it's especially good because the amount they're going to pay is actually more than I would have made if I had worked.
Potentially. So if you'd been there for longer, they were paying the average of the previous 3 months. But because we started so recently, they're paying as though we'd worked full-time for the previous 3 months.
Yeah,
and because Somya hasn't had many bookings, his probably wouldn't have actually been up to that number.
Yeah, it's actually worked out really well for me. So now we have 2 weeks free that we're going to have to figure out what to do. I'm happy that we have 2 weeks off, but at the same time, like we said, we're freaking poor. Why couldn't this have happened a month later when we actually have money?
Because like we've said in the past, we get paid at the end of the following month. So the only time we've worked for our current payment was 1 week in January when we started. So we're surviving off 1 week's pay for this month when it's happened. So we're like considering going to Kyoto or something if we can find really cheap like buses and accommodation, but I don't know if we can afford it.
I doubt that's going to happen. But that's all right. We can find cheap stuff to do in Tokyo. Like, there's so much to look at in Tokyo that... And also, right now, because of coronavirus, everything's really empty. So it's kind of the perfect time and an imperfect time to be at first. But for us, it's pretty good. We do have to check, like, what's open, though. Like, Disneyland is closed for 2 weeks, which is pretty crazy. Think about how much money they're... Yeah, think about how much money they're losing. Yeah. And, like, a lot of places are closing down now. A lot of the museums are closed.
You can find lots of lists online listing the places that are closed. I think basically what they're doing is closing everything as much as they can for 2 weeks to try halt the spread. So if everyone stays indoors, everyone, like, semi-self-quarantines even if they're not sick, it's not going to be able to jump from person to person.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I believe it takes like 2 weeks to show signs, right?
I think it can take 2 weeks.
Yeah, so that way it sort of will halt everyone who could have already been exposed. And then...
I mean, so far in Japan, around 280 people have it. But still, it's only like 6 or 7 that have died.
And most of the cases are in Hokkaido, which is the like uppermost island in Japan.
Yeah.
The next most is in Tokyo, and I think it was around about 40 or something in Tokyo.
Yeah,
so not even that many, considering it's a population of 38 million or whatever in Tokyo.
Yeah. One of the worst parts is the fact that people are making a run on like the supermarkets now. Like people have gone insane. And if you want toilet paper, too bad.
Yeah.
You can't get toilet paper anymore.
Apparently there was this big panic, like a conspiracy, that all the toilet paper in Japan was produced in China. And that because China was shutting down, it wasn't going to be available, and that's why everyone panicked. But all these Japanese like toilet paper producers are like, "Hello, we're right here. What are you doing?" But people were still freaking out. So we went to on Saturday after work. We separately between us went to 4 supermarkets, and there was no toilet paper.
Yeah, and I checked like the supermarkets around my work as well. There's no toilet paper. Toilet paper, apparently like nappies, sanitary stuff,
Yeah.
hand wash, a lot of that's kind of gone now. You can't get that. And also, like,
Yeah.
I've seen, like, people, before I went to work, I saw outside a supermarket, people just lined up, like, a huge line of people because they got a couple of new face masks in there. And then those face masks would have sold
So
out
many
in,
of
like,
my
a couple of
students have been complaining that they can't find face masks and that they're really expensive online. Like,
Also, the thing is, face masks are kind of pointless.
yeah.
Okay, don't fall for the face mask.
Unless-
Honestly, I'm not a believer in conspiracy theories, but big face mask is making a lot of money here. Honestly,
Although I think the problem is they're useful if you were in close contact with other people who had it, but because it's not even that common right now.
well,
it's
kind
not
of.
good.
Like I've heard from apparently the what is it called, the Surgeon General in America, like the head doctor. He's telling people do not buy face masks because apparently people are buying so many face masks that professionals like doctors
Yeah.
are actually running out of face masks. And he said the whole reason to wear a face mask is so that you don't make other people sick,
Yeah.
not so that you don't get sick yourself. And I know, I mean, obviously, you might not show symptoms for a while, so maybe
Yeah.
I guess it's better to
The
be
main
safe
thing
than sorry.
is
But yeah.
washing hands, right? That's what they're saying.
Yeah. I saw a funny Twitter, like a tweet where this guy was like, not to be presumptuous or anything, but how about we just wash our hands in general instead of like freaking out during a pandemic and then washing our hands so much?
Yeah.
It's like never.
It's a valid point, right? I've noticed in the bathrooms in Japan, and I mentioned it to my boss who's been working for the company for 10 years. I noticed people don't wash their hands that much, and I asked her about it, and she said that she noticed when she first moved here too, and it freaked her out as well. But it's just, I don't know, they never learn in school how to wash your hands, which I think I remember learning the dumb way, which no one's ever going to actually individually wash each of their fingers, but you still learn it. So, I don't know, maybe just a whole different like attitude towards it.
Yeah. Well, after this, it'll probably change.
Yeah.
Like I saw a graph, but like where they showed how many people have gotten infected by coronavirus compared to SARS and compared to Ebola and compared to like bird flu. Man, coronavirus is through the roof compared to those other ones.
Oh, really?
Like we thought those other ones were so big. They're not shit compared to coronavirus. But apparently, like SARS is a lot more dangerous. Like more people died. The mortality rate was higher. But coronavirus, more people get it.
I suppose if more people get it, even if it's got a lower rate, then just the same amount of people are going to die, right?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, you know how you kept saying like old men keep getting it?
Yeah.
Turns out guys do get it more often than girls.
Yeah, I know, I told you.
But I thought that's just something you were saying.
No, that was based on fact.
Ah,
I'm
right.
always very careful with opinions that I express on me. I make sure they're based
wow.
on scientific fact.
Yeah. I heard that's actually something that's well known, is that guys are more likely to be infected than girls, because girls actually tend to have a stronger immune system.
Yeah, we got to carry babies and stuff.
Yeah. But apparently what I was reading is because of that, girls are 80% more likely to have autoimmune disease. Because their immune system is so strong that it like attacks itself.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword, you might say.
Yeah, you can teach that to your kids, to your students.
Yeah, my student, like, in our job, we have to teach so many idioms. It's like, I'm never going to use this
I'm
many
constantly
idioms.
thinking of idioms to use.
And heaps of students have on their pages a specific request to, like, teach at least 2 idioms per lesson.
Yeah.
And they've been learning for years. It's like, how many idioms are there left?
I'll be like throwing in idioms that I don't normally use. Like,
Yeah.
I keep saying kill 2 birds with 1 stone nowadays.
Oh, and I use toot your own horn all the time.
To Aaron horn.
No. Toot your own horn.
Oh, toot your own horn.
Because I will ask them to tell me about themselves, and if they mention anything, I'll go, oh, you must be good at that. And they say no. I'm like, come on, toot your own horn.
Yeah,
it's a good way to
I've definitely never
secretly-
heard you say that before in real life.
I mean, it's a true saying though, right?
yeah.
So I'm not lying to them. It's just that. Although there's lots of idioms that I think we don't even realise that we use because we don't think of them as idioms.
True.
But anyways, regardless, talking about work, we were talking about coronavirus. So
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things where someone pointed out that we don't need to worry about the virus itself. We more need to worry about other people's responses to it.
Yeah,
E.g.
that's
the
right,
like
yeah.
mass panic around toilet paper.
Yeah, I wasn't going to like buy supplies and stuff at the supermarket, but then I realized that you kind of have to because everyone else is going to go crazy. So like when
Yeah.
it's time for your normal shop up, you're just not going to be able to buy anything.
Yeah, so we were run out of a few things anyways, so we both, like, Somi went and bought 5 kgs of rice, which rice is not going to run out in Japan, but still better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so far, it's just 2 weeks off, but nothing else too crazy about coronavirus. But if something does come up, we'll do another podcast on it and let you guys know.
Yeah, but so that's our exciting update. We have work off. Woohoo!
Yeah, 2 weeks off. Hopefully we can get up to something good.
Yeah. We've already got a few plans in the works for places to visit.
And yeah, we'll let you know about that in our next podcast.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening. Remember to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at T_in_Tokyo on Instagram.
And as you're probably aware, you can download our podcast at all of the podcast places, basically, like Spotify, iTunes, anywhere that you normally get them.
Yeah, and please comment and leave a rating and whatnot.
Positive rating, specifically.
Hey, don't say that.
Why not?
You can't influence voters. All right, well, that's it. See you later, guys. Bye.
All right, bye.